The Zephyrian High Council had planned the invasion meticulously. Their species had conquered 17 worlds across 3 galactic sectors, each victory following the same predictable pattern: psychological warfare, demonstration of superior technology, swift capitulation by the terrified natives. The humans of Earth, they reasoned, would be no different. Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of the flagship Dominion, watching Earth's blue marble grow larger on the view screen. His 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he reviewed the invasion protocols. First, they would broadcast their ultimatum across all human communication networks. Then, atmospheric demonstrations of their plasma weaponry would reduce several uninhabited islands to glass. Finally, the humans would surrender, as all species did when faced with the inevitable. "Initiate first contact protocols," Vextar commanded, his voice carrying the authority of countless victories. The transmission began, flooding Earth's airwaves with the Zephyrian ultimatum in perfectly translated languages. Vextar's image appeared on every screen across the planet as he delivered his well-rehearsed speech about humanity's imminent subjugation and the futility of resistance. Within hours, the responses began pouring in. "Sir, communications officer," Thylon announced, her voice uncertain, "we're receiving unusual transmissions from the human population centers." "Define unusual," Vextar replied, expecting the typical pleas for mercy or desperate negotiation attempts. "They appear to be laughing, sir." Vextar's mandibles clicked in confusion. "Laughing? Explain." The main screen shifted to display intercepted human broadcasts. A human male with wild hair stood behind a podium, addressing a crowd of his species. "So these aliens show up with their big scary ships and their leader looks like my Uncle Bernie after he got stuck in the blender." The crowd erupted in what humans called laughter, a bizarre sound that made Vextar's exoskeleton itch. Another broadcast showed humans creating what they called memes, crude digital images mocking the Zephyrian appearance. One particularly popular image showed Vextar's face superimposed on a creature called a shrimp, with the caption, "I am here to conquer your planet and also make excellent seafood." "This must be some primitive coping mechanism," Vextar muttered. "Proceed with the demonstration phase." The Zephyrian fleet selected a small uninhabited island in Earth's Pacific Ocean. Their plasma cannons charged reality-bending energy that could atomize matter at the molecular level. The beams struck the island, and in seconds nothing remained but a glowing crater in the ocean. Vexitar waited for the screams of terror, the panicked surrenders, the collapse of human governments. Instead, more laughter echoed from Earth's communication networks. "Did you see that?" a human news broadcaster announced cheerfully. "They just spent probably 1 trillion space credits to blow up an island that was literally just rocks and bird poop. My neighbor Dave could have done the same thing with a stick of dynamite and half a case of beer." Another human, this one wearing what appeared to be military insignia, addressed his own species. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're being invaded by aliens with the tactical intelligence of a wet napkin. They just demonstrated their ultimate weapon by littering in the ocean." The humans began organizing what they called welcome parties. In major cities across Earth, millions gathered in the streets holding signs reading, "Worst invasion ever," and "We want a refund." Some humans wore crude costumes mimicking Zephyrian appearance, complete with cardboard appendages and painted faces, dancing to primitive musical rhythms. "Sir," Thylon reported, her voice now openly bewildered, "human military forces are standing down, but not in surrender. They're redirecting their resources to what they're calling the biggest block party in the galaxy." Vextar felt something he had never experienced in his long military career: complete tactical confusion. In 17 previous invasions, not a single species had responded to overwhelming force with amusement. Fear, yes. Anger, certainly. Desperate bargaining, always. But laughter? The situation deteriorated further when human scientists began analyzing the Zephyrian technology from their demonstration. Within hours, a human physicist appeared on global broadcasts explaining how the plasma weapons were elegantly designed but criminally inefficient, like using a nuclear reactor to power a toaster. Then came the counteroffer that would haunt Zephyrian military academies for generations. A human delegation, led by someone identified as the Secretary General of the United Nations, broadcast a response to the Zephyrian fleet. She was laughing so hard she could barely speak. Okay, she said, wiping tears from her eyes. This has been the most entertaining Tuesday we've had in decades. Look, clearly you guys need help with, well, everything. Your invasion strategy is adorable. Your technology is charmingly outdated, and your understanding of psychological warfare is about as sophisticated as a children's puppet show. She paused, composing herself. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to help you, not surrender to you, help you. Your species is obviously struggling with some basic concepts, so we'll share our knowledge. In return, you can tell us about the galaxy, and maybe we can all have a good laugh about this someday. The offer was accompanied by detailed technical specifications. Humans had somehow reverse-engineered Zephyrian plasma technology in 6 hours and improved its efficiency by 400%. They included blueprints for fusion reactors that outperformed anything in the Zephyrian arsenal, along with what they called comedy writing tips for more effective psychological warfare. Vextar stared at the data streaming across his screens. The human improvements weren't just marginal. They were revolutionary. These beings had taken one look at Zephyrian technology and casually solved engineering problems that had stumped the galaxy's finest minds for millennia. Sir, Thylon whispered, "What are your orders?" Vextar looked at his reflection in the dark screen, seeing himself as the humans apparently saw him. Not as a terrifying conqueror, but as a somewhat pitiful figure deserving more of comedy than fear. For the first time in his career, he wondered if perhaps the humans had the right approach. "Send a message to Earth," he said finally. "Accept their offer and ask them to teach us how to laugh." The invasion of Earth became the first in galactic history to end in a cultural exchange program, and humanity's reputation spread across the stars. The species that met overwhelming force with overwhelming joy, and somehow conquered their would-be conquerors with nothing but laughter and superior engineering. They had expected fear. Instead, they found teachers,